Okay, we're live.
Welcome, and thank you to everyone who has joined us for today's panel discussion. My name is Grace Okafor, and I'm the Strategic Events Coordinator at the Institute for Ecological Civilization, a US-based international nonprofit known as EcoCiv for short. EcoCiv, in partnership with the British charity Reboot the Future, are incredibly excited to be hosting this March discussion for the initiative Conversations for a Life Economy. This project builds on Reboot the Future's Imaginal Conversations, a series of private discussions that reflected on our current way of life and the reimagination of more positive and mutually beneficial relationships with ourselves, the world, and the environment. This project aims to bridge a shared understanding of core values that support a life economy with collective, corporate, or global leadership action. Today, we are joined by three incredible panelists. First, we have Mayamiko Nkoloma, who is a lecturer in telecommunications at the Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences, and is also CEO of iMoSyS, a growing Malawian tech company that's developing and deploying IoT applications that enable connectivity for remote monitoring of industrial processes, infrastructure, and the environment. The firm iMoSyS is pioneering the development of a smart water management system, which is being adopted by water utility companies in Malawi. Maya is also using his extensive knowledge and experience in telecommunications and computer programming to provide solutions through which reliable, affordable, and current ICT services can be implemented to meet the communication needs of developing countries. Maya has received a multitude of local and international awards recognizing his contributions to innovative ICT solutions with the greatest social impact. Next, we have Lamin Saidykhan, who is an award-winning Pan-African Advocate of the year 2018 and is the movement coordinator for Africans Rising, a Pan-African grassroots movement of people and organizations working to foster an Africa-wide solidarity and unity towards a right to peace, social inclusion, and shared prosperity. Lamin holds an extensive background on community organizing with a focus on social change, policy advocacy, movement building, and nonviolent activism. He leads and coordinates campaigns against gender-based violence, youth rights, rights to food and women's lands rights, and across the African continent and beyond. Lamin was named as 100 most influential young people leaders in Africa in 2019. Finally, we have Monica Schüldt, who is co-founder of Ecocide Law Alliance and an independent management consultant with over 30 years of experience. 3 years ago, she saw Greta Thunberg give her first public speech and began to wake up to the climate and ecological crisis. Since then, she has more or less left paid work to support first the Fridays for Future global youth movement started by Greta, and now protecting nature by working towards making mass destruction of the environment an international crime, Ecocide. Outside of Ecocide Law Alliance, Monica is a member of the Time to Think International faculty, where she teaches how to create conditions for independent thinking. She is also the co-author of a best-selling book on how to change corporate culture, a member of Researchers' Desk, and the former CEO of London Montessori Center Sweden Teachers Training. I'd now like to transition the floor to EcoCiv's President, Philip Clayton. Philip.
Thank you, Grace, and welcome to Conversations for a Life Economy. You represent 3 different countries from around the world, 3 different areas of focus, and yet I think in some ways a common vision, and we hope that in the next few minutes, our conversation will bring that to the surface. I understand that the 3 of you met recently on a global conversation hosted by Kim Pullman and Reboot the Future, something called an imaginal conversation. Can you say something about what that was and what your experience was like? Anyone?
I think it was great. Meeting and interacting with people, discussing how time really affects our everyday of doing things, and then being realistic around how we can use time effectively to save the planet. I think for me that came out as an inspiring process and conversation that we had.
Thanks. Monica, you were starting to say something also?
Yeah, I loved it. And I particularly loved, I met Maya in a breakout room and the 2 of us had time to think together. And this is, it's very much like the work that I teach, to give people space to think in. So I felt totally at home, and it was beautifully moderated by Sandy and lost his name. Maya, what was it like for you?
Yeah, I think it was really quite amazing. And it came actually at the right time in my career. because, you know, we're so busy with work, and sometimes we forget about how valuable time is for ourselves, for our family, and also for our goals. So I think it really, you have no idea how much impact it has done to my life. And I think it will do me better for my goals and to attain my dreams. Thank you very much.
Let's see if we can have a conversation together, something like what occurred in that imaginal conversation that you were all in recently. And I think I would like to start by helping people get some sense of who you are and what drives you in the work that you engage in. Maya, maybe I could start with you and just ask, could you tell us about some early experience, say with your family or as a young man, that put you on the direction of the important work that you now lead?
Yeah, I think it's really amazing to be here, and thank you very much for the honor to be among these two amazing people. I don't take it for granted. It's all like there's been a blueprint already written down for me to take through to success. It's really quite amazing. And when I look back to my background and even the time I was staying with my parents, education has always been the key. And this is an issue which I also talk to my fellow youths to say, if you want to succeed, education is number one. I come from humble beginnings. My parents didn't have enough, but they invested in us to ensure that we go to school and be educated, as how I am today. And through that, I'm able to come up with solutions, which I think people in the villages cannot manage to have it. So I think it has been well done. I think the creator already created the road for me to pass through. And I also take the same and put an impact to other people also, to ensure that when they have things to value about life, about their careers, and education is key. And another issue is also to do with integrity. I work with government and big corporations. And for my young, youthful company, which is just starting up, to have big contracts, you know, in Africa, people can think that maybe there's a lot that
Maya's video feed has paused, so let me move on until he gets the video back and turn to Monica. You work so strongly with nature, and can you tell us, where did that experience
about tomorrow?
Yeah, there we go. Maya, your video broke up, so let me come back to you in a minute and,
right, sure.
and ask Monica to talk about her early influences that led to her concern with nature in your work.
Thank you. It's got to do with partly growing up, being fortunate enough to grow up so that I could always open the door and go out in the forest, or go and mess about in the lake, or go out in the sea. And there's another part of it, which is that working for nature for me is actually a way of working for children. And the people I work for are the babies and the really, really small kids. My sister has 3 grandchildren. The youngest one was born in September. And you know, you've all held a baby in your arms. You know how defenseless they are. So it comes from protecting babies. We had a pre-conversation, Philip, and you asked me about health, which was, I kept talking about it. And I came to remember that when I was 3, I had a disease. I was ill and I couldn't breathe properly. So I was taken to hospital, and I was left there by my father and my mother. And to the day that he died, my father, who was then 93, felt bad that he had abandoned me with strangers. And so when I hear Greta speaking and saying that all the adults have let us down, and I'm 64, you know, what am I going to do? I have to go there and help the children. Because by the time my sister's youngest grandson is old enough to make a difference, we have to have shifted this round. Thank you.
Monica, that's beautifully put. Those are powerful words. Those are powerful words. Lamin, I've known you on stages around the world, listen to you speaking. You speak with a passion and a power. What was it in your early background that made you this kind of a force in your activist work across Africa and around the world?
Yeah, thank you, Philip. I'm very privileged and honored to be in this panel with a great, amazing leaders. Yeah, I actually come from one of the smallest countries in Africa. Was born and raised there. It all started when I was, I think, around primary 4, very young. Gambia was named as the Africa's most democratic country in July. In May, sorry. Then in July 1994, a military took over and dismantled the whole setup. And we become one of the worst democracies on the continent. We hear democracy, and I was growing up, people don't have space to even speak or breathe, or whenever you talk about anything that is against the government, either kidnapped, you go missing, you're either killed. So in that trend of growing up, we loved, I love the uniform, but I also had the passion of serving others and helping others and contributing to community. So that process of having and loving others and contributing to community inspired me to see what the real way of organizing means, and then had an opportunity to be trained. And then from that training, it opened my eyes to see that it's possible. When we have courage and confidence, it's possible to move ourselves out of this dictatorship that we are experiencing. Then I took the initiative and commitment to start organizing and training and teaching a lot of young people to kind of create courage, but also create self-esteem in them. For 7 years of organizing, we were able to confront the dictatorship from below, started organizing from below, challenging authorities at the local level, challenging authorities at the parliament level, changing some bit of laws, and then winning some gains and then losing a bit. I got some threats on my life. I was arrested at some point in my organizing. I was taken to a place of no return, where I faced the brutal questions from the dictatorship. But I escaped from that death threat. It gave me more anger and more urgency that we need to face the reality and we need to save our country out of the dictatorship. And we started organizing.
If you had to capture in just a few values, what are the deepest values that drive your teaching and your training and your advocacy? What would you name, Lamin?
Yeah, I will say that courage is the first thing. That courage and the self-esteem that yes, we can really do this, and believe that nobody will come from anywhere to help us remove ourselves out of dictatorship. Then again, humility, that I'm not the one doing this, but it's the group and the collectiveness that we can really create power. And as well, hope and believe that yes, this is possible. And then that's what drives us to kick ourselves out of dictatorship.
Yeah. Maya, what are the values that drive you as a businessman, as a person who's able to bring people together to make change in Malawi and elsewhere?
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Sorry for my connection. These are the things that we want to solve. So, the values, I think I started in the area discussion. I did indicate about education to say that education is key to success. Another issue is integrity. I'm a young person just starting up a business. I need to make sure that I do the right thing. I think even the reboot, the future also indicated that do the right thing, do the things that you expect others to do to you. So that is also key to myself. And this also applies not only with the companies that we deal with, but also with how we relate with the people. My work is normally in the village. So which means when I go to the village, I need to be like them so that I'm able to understand them and offer them solutions. Another thing that is very variable to us, it's the creativity and innovation. My main passion is to see Malawi develop. It's a sad situation that we are, at the low of least developed countries in the world, and people are still in poverty and have less access to basic services like health, water, education, and energy. So what drives me the most is to ensure that people have access to these things which are crucial for a country to develop through the use of technology. So I come in by coming up with innovative products that assist people to have access to basic needs. So creativity and innovation is key to our success. Thank you, Fede.
Yeah, thanks, Maya. Monica, you started to speak of them, but I really want to ask you the question. What are the fundamental values that drive your work? What we call values for a life economy?
Compassion, care, which is the action that comes with the compassion. And if I have to choose 3, can I have 4?
Of course.
Because I think behind all of those is love. There just isn't enough of it. And by the way, as far as I'm concerned, this conversation is already hugely successful, because isn't it amazing that I can sit here and listen to Maya talking about and Lamin from a completely different part of the world, where you are struggling with things that I have never experienced, and to get close to you enough to begin to have the sense of what you're up against and what we all need to help you with. And the other one is joy, because with joy comes the energy to do all the things that we need to do together.
Can I invite you as a panel to think a little bit more deeply about the values with this question and see where you want it, any of you want to take it. We are often trying to live out values within systems that don't share those values. Maya, you spoke of the corruption that whenever large government contracts are involved, people expect corruption. Lamin, you fought against systems your whole life as an activist, and Monica now as well with her international legal work. How does one live out his or her values in systems that are often opposed to those values? What advice would you give to younger leaders who are trying to live according to their values in often hostile systems?
I will come in quickly. I will say every life in this world should live for a dream and a purpose. And that dream and a purpose need to be fulfilled. And it cannot be fulfilled without holding on to your values. That is why every human being needs to create specific values and principles that guide you to deliver your purpose in life. And then your purpose in life must be delivered with others supporting you and others working alongside with you to deliver that change that you need to live on this earth.
Hey, how you go?
Yeah, I think, you look at Malawi as an example. I think we got our independence in 1964. We were in a one-party system, and later in the 90s, now we went into democracy, multi-party system. People have come and tried this and that, but we seem not to go forward. We don't seem to progress in different ways. I've already indicated poor roads, poor healthy services, electricity is a problem. You see, even my connectivity to the internet to have this conversation has also been a challenge. So people have tried, and there's a need to do things differently. I think it's now time for people to think outside the box, and we have to fight the system in a different way, because others have tried and have failed. But we are the game changers, and we're going to make sure that we succeed, no matter how the system can be resistive. I'll give you a simple example on typical our work when we come up with an innovation. you expect that maybe the government of corporations will be happy to say, oh yeah, come, we're going to adopt your solution, but we have to pass through the bureaucracy, the procurement, challenges, but yet it's something that can help them. So it's really quite difficult, but day by day, you see that these innovations are adopted, but it so takes patience. Because it will take a year or 2 or 3, but by the end of the day, if it is something good, the people will take it and use it for their own better future.
I'm struck with the term courage. What it's like to change. It takes courage to change a system that's often in opposition to you. What if you had just a sentence of advice to give to a young leader who is beginning to work in their country to bring about change, knowing the uphill battle they face? What would be that advice you would give?
Don't give up. Nothing takes the place of persistence. And people are all the time, I think, choosing the way they want to be in the world. And if you are your best self, you have the chance of infecting other people with your best self. And we can already see a huge movement in the world. There are so many more organizations trying to create the better world that's good for everybody. And we'll reach a social tipping point if we just persist, where the economy that we want will flower into being suddenly, like the butterfly in the imaginal conversations. So be the change you want to see in the world and don't give up. That's mine. What do you say, Maya? Or what do you say, Lamin? What's your best advice?
I totally agree that you have to be the change that you want to see in the world.
Yeah, and also the patience, because it might take time for the change to come. You might face resistance, but after some time you might win. So maybe people may get discouraged on the way, but I think patience is also key to succeed.
I'll add resilience to it as well.
Say more, Lamin. What do you mean by resilience?
Yeah, especially in Africa, you're going to be facing a lot of challenges. You will be hit down, you'll be knocked down, you'll be threatened to be killed, you will lose your business. So that's resilience and consistency pattern to drive at the change that you really want to bring have to be there. So all of those need to be in your mind and in your drive person, and you will be obviously be there.
We don't have the same kinds of challenges in Sweden, which is where I am.
Yeah.
But my husband used to run a leadership course for senior leaders. And the people who succeeded, who got their good ideas through, were the ones who didn't give up. They'd say, well, why don't we do this? And people wouldn't listen. And then they'd say again, well, we could do this, and people wouldn't listen. And they kept doing it, and eventually they prevailed. But they weren't being beaten to death. So that it's a different situation. Courage needs to be there. I take my hat off.
Interesting.
It's our goal to introduce your particular project to a much broader audience. And let me start with Maya, if I may, just to ask you to say in a minute or so, what is the project that you're most focused on now? Each of you is in a different sector, but all of you are involved in transformative work of great significance. Maya, can you say, what is this idea and what have you launched in your business? What is happening? What is the innovation that you are bringing through the business means to Malawi and maybe to other countries as well? Talk to us about that work.
Okay. No, thanks, Philip. First of all, I think I'll give a brief background about Malawi. I think I've already indicated. But I'm in telecommunication, IT, technology sector. And if I come out and start talking about these words, even to government, it may not make sense because they have their immediate needs. For example, people in the village, they want water, they want clothing, they want food. So what we've done is we want to develop technologically wise, but we have rebranded ourselves to be accelerators for development. And we have looked at these key areas which are crucial for the country to develop. So we talk of things like water, energy, education, agriculture, industrialization, just to mention a few. So we have major projects in these areas where we feel that they can be help the country to ensure that the services are actually given to a bigger audience, to the population, so that the country can develop. To be specific, what I will present to you today, like one of our big projects is in water. So we are supporting our water utility companies from being old school kind of way of doing things to modern kind of utility company where they're using technology to ensure that they're able to make quick strategic decisions to ensure that everyone has access to clean water. So we're looking at starting from the distribution, checking, are people drinking to clean water? What are the chemicals which are in the water? And we are giving all these statistics, and then they can make real-time decision to ensure that people have access to clean water. Similarly, in the villages, we are also putting up what we call communal kiosk units, but these are automated. They work like an auto teller machine that produces money, but now in this case, they bring out water. So we have installed these in the communities to ensure that people can easily go and draw water from these communal areas to ensure that they are, meeting the demands from their homes. These units are also powered by solar. So in that way, it means they can go during any time in the day, could be during the day or during the night to operate using a battery. So they have 24/7 access to clean water. So we're looking at rural areas, we're giving them solutions, and also in the urban areas, we're also giving the solutions through the use of technology. So that's one of the innovations that we are bringing out to the world, and it's been quite successful. It has been impactful in the country, across Africa, and even outside the world. And we've received a lot of funding to upscale the developments through great partners like World Bank and JICA, who are also putting money through the utility companies to ensure that these solutions are adopted across the country. Thank you, Philip.
Yeah, it'd be fun to invite the other two panelists in each case to raise a question or make a comment about each speaker, something that interests you or some comment you want to make. Let me just invite Lamin or Monica to jump in with some responses to Maya.
Yeah, Maya, just thinking around the sustainability of having funding from powerful financial influencers like World Bank, and what does it come with influence or conditions so you want to innovate and then move around as you wish, or are you free to work with the money the way as they send to you?
Yeah, so with these projects, we are working hand in hand with the government through the water utility companies, and the funding is coming routed through the government, and it's given to us to develop this equipment to have them installed. So we are emphasizing on localization of solutions. I've been saying this in many forums to say that we need to boost our industry. Africa is not developing because we are relying more on importation. The coming of COVID have actually opened our eyes to say, you guys go local, come up with local solutions. Because I think it must have been the case also in your countries when COVID came in, it was difficult to import, even for the expertise, human resource to travel from Germany to offer support. It was challenging because they had to go through quarantine. And now we have something blowing up that needs to be saved, but someone is in a 14-day quarantine. So we are trying to boost our industry so that we believe more in ourselves. We boost our industry, and in that way, you see that the economy is going to boost. We are going to be able to create jobs for the youth. There is a lot of cry about unemployment rates, basically because maybe we give jobs to foreigners, which is not bad, but now we also need to look at ourselves and ensure that our countries are developing. So it's a strong partnership that is available, and we've been assisted much by the government through the donor funding community.
Monica?
Yeah, I was thinking of the impact that this has for women and girls, because I have a feeling that a lot of the fetching of the water has been a woman's and a girl's job. And I'm wondering, is this going to make education more readily available to girls, for instance?
Actually, that's really brilliant observation. I mean, in our African setup, it is the women who actually go to fetch water and ensure that everyone has food and to taking care of the home. And in the past, if we were to look at this setup where now we have the communal water systems, people had to go to get water during specific times because they were operated by a human being. So the time that human being is not there, it means the community will suffer. But now, coming in with this solution and incorporating solar, and people can access that solution anytime during the day, it means now they have more time to concentrate on other things. They can go early in the morning, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., bring water, make breakfast. At 8 o'clock, they can go to school if they are, girls. And if they're women, they can go and do other productive activities, which were not the case in the past. And at the same time, they were traveling long distances. But now we are bringing the solutions closer to where they live. In that way, they don't spend more time traveling, but now they can, do other things while they have the service close to them. So it's really something I think that we can talk about the impact by indicating that we are helping also on women, something that we may not think about, but the impact is really there and we can actually quantify it.
Thanks, Maya. I want to move on to Monica, but I note that you are excellent questioners, and I'm happy to yield the question function over to the other two guests. Monica, in your work with the Ecocide Law Alliance is revolutionary. Would you introduce your project to us, please? And then I'll invite Maya and Lamin to jump in with questions or comments.
It's an initiative that underpins a world economy for life, because at the moment, nature is not protected well. And so it's perfectly possible to destroy vast tracts, large areas of nature. And I saw a film today, it goes, Harrison Ford in a deep ocean voice is going, nature doesn't need humans. Humans need nature. And we do, we really need nature. And so we need to protect nature. And the best way to do that is through criminal law, international hard criminal law, which means that the people who take the top decision makers, not the foot soldiers, the top decision makers who decide to do things that are risky, that risk destroying nature, or that actually do, can be brought to justice on personally liable and prosecuted before the International Criminal Court in The Hague, which is, of course, it's become very fashionable at the moment because of what Putin is up to. And I haven't seen the International Criminal Court talked about so much as I have in the last 3 weeks. It's suddenly become all the rage, because that is where we take the people who are destroying the world. And at the moment, there are 4 crimes that the ICC can prosecute for. It's the crimes against humanity, genocide, war crimes, and the crime of aggression. And the idea is to add ecocide as a 5th crime. And that would, and you wouldn't even have to, the wonderful thing about it is also, not only does it protect nature, it protects human rights, because what are people doing when nature is destroyed? What are we all going to do without the Amazon rainforest, for goodness sakes? What are we going to do with dead seas? We have to protect nature. So it protects human rights also, as well as protecting nature. And it actually helps slow climate change as well, because we need nature to protect climate also. And one of my colleagues who's brilliant has had taken the SDGs, the Global Development Goals, and had a look at how does Ecocide law feed into, work with the global development. You can't get to the Sustainable Development Goals if you don't protect nature. And to start with the worst crimes, which is what this will do, is a really good place to start. And finally, I want to say, before I outrun my speaking time, is that the biggest shifts may be not just the law, but what it will do to our mindset. To start thinking about that we are in a relationship with nature, that we are part of nature, because criminal law affects our values. What the things that are criminal, like murder or theft, we think it's bad to steal, we think it's bad to kill. Well, when we notice, when we put it right up there, that it's bad to kill vast tracts of nature, it'll begin to change our thinking. And it will begin to also shift the mindsets of people taking these decisions. Do I really want to go there? Do I want to take that risk? Of course I don't. I don't want to be seen as a criminal. So that's my initiative.
A brilliant presentation, Monica, and powerful. I invite my friends to make their comments or questions.
They want to go first, Maya, or you want me to go first?
You go first.
All right, Monica, thank you so much. This is fascinating and as well as very relevant. We cannot continue to live in this world when we don't protect our lives, and that's the environment. So Africa is being plundered so badly, and then the process of being plundered is causing deaths in the continent, because there is death of livelihood on the continent. They pick raw materials from Africa. As they pick them, they pollute the environment, they kill the environment. And the process of processing these raw materials into finished products out there create jobs, kill jobs in Africa. So there's a whole criminal action happening. My question will be, how do we practicalize criminalizing the challenges that have been caused by multinationals and the West companies to Africa and the other developing world?
The practical process is actually set out in the Rome Statute that governs the International Criminal Court. And unlike the UN, where you pretty much or actually need consensus, to change the Rome Statute requires a 2/3 majority of states. And a number of states are getting interested. So the way we can help is to encourage governments. And my way of doing that is by encouraging companies to encourage governments, because companies have a way of getting the ear of the governments. But also young people are. I mean, as an activist, a lot of the activist organizations are picking this up as one of the core things that we're fighting for. There'll be a big manifestation in the 21st of March, Fridays for Future, with Stop Ecocide. So pick it up and kind of wave it around. We need to start talking about it, because its main problem is people don't know that it's possible, and it's perfectly possible. And I agree, Lamin, terrible things have been done and are being done to Africa. Absolutely.
Yeah, Monica, yeah, quite fascinating. Yeah, but I have a question or maybe a comment, like, how do we balance up? I'll give you in our perspective, African perspective, how we live. We don't have continuous electricity at all times, although we are in urban areas. We have some times where we have electricity in our homes and maybe 2 or 3 hours of blackout. And normally we survive on firewood or charcoal. This firewood and charcoal is actually brought to the city from the people in the rural area. So these guys, they cut trees and make them charcoal and then sell to the urban areas, which is bad. But now, by the end of the day, these guys are earning a living. Because if we say, okay, let's not do this, then we might also put others in danger because they may not have source of income. So my question is, how can we balance up that kind of ecosystem?
I may not give you the right answer here, but I will do my best, okay? What I am hoping for, one of the many benefits of making sure that the big stuff is criminalized, is that I'm pretty sure it'll make us move away from fossil fuels faster, which means, as for you, which means we need to move into renewables faster. And if there's something that Africa has in abundance and we don't, is sun. Yeah. We need to move into other ways of finding that electricity, which will also be less vulnerable, I think, because it will be more local. And people will be able to, so is that a reasonable answer?
Yeah, very much. Yeah, it is. It is. Actually, it's something that it's been talked about. One time I did put something on Facebook. It was this other guy was carrying a lot of charcoal on the head. So I was like, oh, this guy can work so hard. I wish if I was like him, but I don't have that energy to do that kind of work. And I got all these kind of comments like, no, this is bad to nature. And others were like, no, but he's doing something for his family. Where is he going to get money? Yeah, so yeah, it's something I think we need to do as a country on how we could come up with better solutions for our needs, energy needs, and also maybe solutions for them people in the village on how they can come up with other entrepreneurial solutions to substitute the cutting down of trees.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And now we come to Lamin. Lamin, could you talk to us about the work that you're involved in now and tell this international audience listening what it is that you're pouring your life and energy into in these years? And then again, I'll invite my two other friends to comment or question.
Great, thank you so much, Philip. Yeah, yes, I'm living my life for a purpose, and that purpose is to be the change that I want to be, but also with the belief that nobody will come from anywhere in the world outside Africa to make Africa great for us, but we have to do it ourselves. And then that process starts from the community, through organizing at my level, to kicking out dictatorship in Gambia, to replicating that across Africa. Wanted to see filling the gaps. A lot of NGOs, a lot of civil society organizations are in Africa, but there is a gap that need to be filled, and that gap needs, a Pan-African movement that will connect, enable, empower, support, and strengthen the grassroots movements and communities to be able to do the work better and faster and bring the win faster to their doorsteps through innovative organizing, using arts, using courage, using creativity to be able to challenge power. Either being it environment movements that are challenging the power to ensure that they protect their environment, protecting the forest to be cut, protecting lands to be grabbed from grab, protecting their seas to be polluted by the Chinese companies that we see across West Africa, protecting women's rights, who are defending against rape, women's rights groups and movements, who are defending their rights, protecting communities, to defend themselves from stealing, that the governments are looting budgets, millions of budgets. Africa is losing about $80 billion every year through tax evasions, through city deals. And then advancing the unity, the unification of these movements in a spirit called Ubuntu, that together we can leverage ourselves from the challenges that we faced. Again, our governments, understanding that our governments they listen to two languages very much. One of these languages is numbers. They understand that numbers put them into power. So if these movements, small organisms are not coming together to create the number, they will never listen to them. But whenever we create a number, they either listen to these numbers or these numbers kick them out. But also, what they listen to is the power of media, the power of social media. How do we use this media? So my work is around effective use of media, but social media, to create the voice. One thing that I know and experience, if people don't know about the challenges that you faced, they will never be in solidarity with you. They will never support you in the journey. So spreading the challenges, the successes, and the good things that people are doing, amplifying them so that people can create that number and the power of solidarity to bring the change to the doorsteps. One thing that is clear, if all of us rose and said that we need to protect our environment, movements around environment on the continent said that no to importation of raw materials when Africa is not benefiting from the investments, from the jobs that it will create. We will create more green grass on the African continent, and our young people will not take the dangerous route to Europe, and they will not die in the oceans. A lot of young people are dying in the oceans for the green grass because a lot of jobs have been taken out of Africa. But who is doing this? Who is allowing this? Is our governments. So Africans Rising that I work for, the movement, is creating the Pan-African unity for solidarity, for actions, and supporting the young people and women to claim the power that belongs to them and to make Africa the dream for all of us to live in.
Wow. That vision of Africans Rising, your organization, is powerful. Let me hand off to Monica and Maya and see where they want to go with their comments and questions.
You want to go first, Maya?
Yeah, I think let me go first. Lamin, I really like what you do. You are very courageous. Some of us cannot do what you do because we are afraid of fighting with politicians. You must be going through a lot of dangers. I don't know how you make sure that you see tomorrow. I know a lot of stories that happens in Africa if you are against powerful people. I don't know how you manage that, and if ever you get support from local support or maybe international support to ensure that you are going forward with your dream.
Thank you, Maya. Yeah, life have to be lived for a purpose, and that purpose gives us courage and make us sometimes fearless. The protection that we have is within. As I said, the collective create the power. So I try to be very much human, and as well try to ensure that I present more humility in the work that I do, so that I will not be seen the target or the doer, but the community that I work with, the African youth that I work with, are seen the drivers of the change. And then also build along the image and the visibility for the work that we do, and that create more international solidarity and more pressure on governments. So when one is touched, we also in solidarity with them. And then that creates a lot of noise around activists who have been attacked, not only me, but a lot of them. As we speak today, 10 activists are just arrested in Uganda. We are fighting against for their release. So it's tough.
Yeah.
What sticks with me is something you said quite early in your presentation about what it does to the person who is engaging, the way that it builds the pride, the way that it builds the values, that makes the people of any country own and rule that country, because it comes from within. It's not somebody else telling you what to do. And the other thing that sticks with me is I've worked with the Fridays for Future movement, particularly in Sweden, but behind, and the community, the worldwide community that is growing. I don't know whether there have been people from your country. I know from Uganda, there are some really fabulous Fridays for Future activists. And one guy that I'm in touch with, he's 18 here. One of his best friends is from the Philippines. They've never even met, but they are comrades in arms without the arms, you know, just trying to make a decent future for each other and themselves. So I really applaud this coming together and working together.
That's the beauty of activism. You know, it creates great minds to get connected, and it brings a lot of love and togetherness, and that togetherness helps to drive the agenda for change from anywhere we are in the world. I have friends all over Africa and globally. Then they cherish me a lot, I cherish them a lot, and we can take bullet for each other because of the passion that we have for the change that we are driving and fighting for.
I would like to ask a question to each of you about your project, and in the same order, Maya, Monica, and Lamin. It's the question, if your work succeeds beyond your highest expectation, what is your dream that you and your allies might achieve? What is that greatest dream you could hope for the future of the work that you are involved in? I'd love to listen to just the three of you describe what it is that would be that most incredible outcome of the work that you pursue with such passion. Maya.
Yeah, it's a big one now. You've taken me 10, 20 years ahead.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and I pray that I'll get to live to see those years ahead. I would like to see what I do grow and have huge impact, not only in my country, not only in Africa, but across the world. I've heard a lot of stories about the Silicon Valley in America. I've traveled around the world in Europe, Africa, but I've never been to America. And I hear a lot of inspirational stories coming from Silicon Valley, how they use technology to solve problems. We would want to have something similar in Africa also, because as I've already indicated, it's us locals who can come up with solutions. There can be someone who is very smart from South Korea, Japan, Canada, but if we can come to our environment, you see that that person might fail because the way we do things is different from how people in Canada do things, how Japanese do things. Our culture is different, our beliefs are different. So we are the pioneers, we are the people who can make Africa big. We are the ones who can bring in development. We need to be involved. So my dream is to see that Silicon Valley flowing in Malawi, somewhere, Kenya, Zambia, being built here in Africa, and I want to be one of the pioneers doing that. It's unfortunate that maybe we don't have access to funding, unlike our friends. When they have an idea, it's easy for that idea to get huge funding in millions of US dollars. And then you see that they have that TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, making impact across the world. But I have much strong belief that one day maybe we'll get a chance also here in Africa, because Africa is a virgin land. Malawi is a virgin land. The work I do, if I was to be in a developed country, maybe I would not have been given a chance to do that work. Maybe it would have been given to Huawei. It could have been given to Google, but it has been given to a small startup like us. That shows that there's a lot of opportunity. And if we are available for that opportunity, we can make great change. So the world is just waiting for us to grab it and succeed. And I see myself succeeding in that dimension in future. Thank you,
Thank you, Maya. We only have a few minutes, so briefly, Monica, what would that dream be for you?
Okay, I'm going to start short term, which is for everybody to find out about this idea and start working for it in any way that they can. Long term, my dream is for a safe, stable, healthy planet for all. A planet where it's safe, that it's safe to be born into, whether you're an African baby or a Swedish one, because the world is healthy, it's prosperous, and people are in harmony with the world.
Beautifully put. Beautiful. Lamin, briefly, what is your dream?
A liberated people from all challenges in life, but unified in their actions and is supportive in solidarity to defend all the dictatorial challenges that we face, especially on the lives of Africans, wherever they are. And then with the belief, having the belief that they are the change that can bring change in their lives. And then working hand in glove to supporting young people to achieve that dream of a healthy and joyful environment that we all deserve to live in.
Beautifully put. We always close the show by inviting each of you to say, just in a sentence or so, what gives you hope in the work you're engaged in, which is so crucial to the future of the continent and of the planet? As you work so hard, what gives you hope? What is the essence? What gives you hope, Maya?
I believe everything is possible if we put our mind to it. And I believe dreams comes true. So that gives me enough hope that we'll be able to succeed in whatever we have passionate about.
Thank you. Monica.
I think we're approaching a social tipping point where it's suddenly going to change. Every time I think somebody should, then I look around and somebody is. There are so many people and so many organizations out there trying their best. So join us.
Fantastic. Lamin, what gives you hope?
Change is possible. It has been tested, it has been done. And we all have to do something in our lifetime to bring the change for a better life, for the people surrounding you, for the people far away from you, for the people that are living in this world. And it have to be you in your lifetime to deliver the change for yourself and for the others.
Thank you. My friends, you have been absolutely brilliant in describing this vision. And I express gratitude on behalf of Reboot and EcoCiv and the entire audience for the time you gave us. Let me hand off to Grace Okafor.
What an incredible discussion. Thank you to all of our panelists and attendees globally. It's our hope that you will continue in this journey of reflective conversations and that the insights of these programs inspire you to take action towards a just and sustainable future. We encourage you to follow this project by signing up to both the EcoCiv and Reboot the Future mailing lists found on our websites, as well as our organization's social media for updates on our next